True Story Media.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Hey, it's Britt. Thank you so much for listening to Season 2 of You Probably Think This Story is About You. In Season 1, I shared the most personal details of my life. And in the second season, we started to share other people's stories. It's been a big transition, and we learned a lot talking with Lou and Eve, Cash, and Gina and Viv. I was curious to catch up with each of them. I wanted to know what their experience has been like after sharing their stories for the show. So today, we are sitting down with Cash. I know we caught up right before, but have you been sharing it with people?
Yeah, so that's this is so crazy. So I don't know what day it was. I think I texted you guys, but I was like, I'm sharing it. It's time. And so I shared it to a lot of actually my adopted family. And this is it's like a very weird time right now with Wanda just having a lot more needs and etc. And there's family drama, etc. So I shared it with several of them and I got feedback from them. And that first episode, I think it was Wanda, and then the next it was Wanda, So I think that it was a good reminder to them as well that I'm a part of this conversation. I think it was just a good, perfect timing almost to be able to send that and share more about just the role that she has in my life. The second episode, I feel like I shared it with 3 of them because I was more nervous because that's when it got into the nitty gritty of the abuse and stuff, which when I was listening to it myself again, I'm just so appreciative of the way that the narrative and the way you framed it, because it wasn't very gruesome and the nitty gritty. So it made me feel comfortable to share that because it wasn't I was going to explicit. So I do appreciate that. And then one of the comments I got from, she's my niece, I guess, but she's older than me. And she goes, when I gave her the first episode, she's don't ever send me anything without the second one with it. And so I was like, oh, thank you. And it felt good. It felt liberating. I think I was these are people that, even though I was adopted to this family, I don't think that they knew the extent of foster care and more stuff about my life. And I shared it with my BFF, who's going to ride or die regardless. It was a good moment. And also I listened to in the car with my daughter to it. And so she's you sound weird. So she's going to give me the other feedback.
Well, I know Sydney did this with my story, but Sydney has this incredible way of taking a very traumatic thing, but sharing it in a way that is comfortable. It's not sensationalizing it. It's not creating clickbait so that people, feel some sort of way, but it's thoughtful. I'm glad you noticed that because it's hard to share your story. It's harder for me knowing people that I know are listening I'd rather have a world full of strangers listen. And so to know and to share it with people that know me is really the hardest part. And the way that Sid did my story and, the same way she framed yours it is empowering without it being uncomfortable.
It made me remind myself that I've done some incredible things. It made me proud. So I do appreciate it was a very, very proud moment. And even listening to the second episode in that part.
One of my favorite things is at the end when we talk about little Cash. And you shared that you thought little Cash would share her story one day. When we talked before it was out in the public, and now it is. So, what does it feel like?
Man. Well, I think one emotion I don't know if I was like fully prepared for it, just like the nervousness of it, right? Because like, even though it is so empowering to like, to speak and to share your story, like there's that fear that's there. And, so I think there's that part, but like, I completely agree with that statement too, is like, I was going to tell my story, and I've been telling my story in all these ways that I like. Again, I didn't realize that was me telling my story at that meeting, and then here I am again. And so I think it was more of a like confirmation. Like it wasn't anything like new, but it was like, oh, look at you, you're still doing it, So, and I love that. Yeah, the baby Cash to it. I think it gives me that like visual. So we're here and we're still doing it. So that's what I'm thinking.
We had talked about being a mom and how we both try and put names on things, so our kids don't feel like it's taboo, right? Like they understand that they have a voice in what's happening to them. Has this experience changed how you deal with your daughter? Or, has it changed you as a parent at all?
She is still my biggest critic. So I just gotta say that. But I think it's like, there was a proudness. I will say, I kid you not. The second episode I didn't listen to in the car with her because the first one, it was easier to do on the ride to school. And the second one, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for her to hear this. And so full disclosure is like, I haven't had that like child abuse conversation with her, but I remember thinking she's 11 now, and this was happening around that time. And that the fact that my daughter is nowhere near the same experience. And it was like a badge of honor for me as I was like driving, and I was like, I did this. And I had that same thought when she was 7, because around that time was no longer with my mom. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like a fun moment when I was listening to that second episode and thinking like, I'm strong because of this. Like I'm a better parent because of this. I'm a better mother because of this. I remember when she turned 7, there was a sadness, but now like at 11, I'm like, I got this.
I sat my 3 youngest down when they were 11, 12, and 13, and like sat them across from me. And I told them that story. I told them the story of me being raped at their age. And I told them the story because being a mom of boys, I wanted them to understand that they make a difference in how they treat women. And it is incredibly impactful. I think that a lot of people don't understand the impacts of sexual abuse on every aspect of your life. We still talk about it. One of my sons, he's 20. He's 6'4" and a football player. Like he is ginormous. He was home for the weekend. He flew home back to his school, and he didn't get in till like midnight. And so he had taken the train in, and he was talking about, he was like, it was sketchy. Like sketchy as fuck. And I'm like, imagine how women feel. Like you're a 6'4" dude. Like nobody's messing with you. And I'm like, imagine somebody that is a female and half your size. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I texted my girlfriend and I was like, I can't imagine how you would feel if you were here. And I'm like, oh, that's the boy I wanted to raise. Like just to even be aware. I think that this is such an amazing gift for your daughter, what you've done, because not only, as you said, it made you a better parent, but you've shown her that she can have a voice.
Like there's nothing off the table. We can talk about it all.
You took the shame out of it for her, and so she knows that she wouldn't have to hide because you would actually understand. And that is so incredibly powerful. You gave little Cash a voice, but you also gave a voice to so many other people that have experienced similar things that maybe felt like they couldn't. And as you said, it's not something that's talked about.
I appreciate you sharing that story too, because yeah, like maybe I'm not seeing the immediate, like my daughter realizing that like I'm going to be here, but it's like that can make the difference when she's 16, 17, 18. And so that is very like, just like powerful to think about that. And I think also it's just like the perfect timing in a weird way because, you know, at 11, like right now it's like the whole boyfriend conversation. And so I just think that, I don't know, a lot of things lined up. Like it's just the way things lined up. I feel so grateful because it's like these conversations, I think what a perfect time to have them, you know, like the time is now, you know, people are really taking ownership of their voice, their life experience. Yeah, I'm just imagining when you were taking this leap of faith when you started, you know, and just to be where you're at now and giving power to other people's voices. And so I'm so appreciative. And it's like part of me too is like, yeah, I want more people to hear it more and more and more. And then I know that like I'm even growing in my confidence to continue to send it to the people who are closest to me. Because yeah, like you said, like the shift is happening, like, you know, which is exciting to say. There's so nervousness though. I'm like, even thinking, I'm like, I feel like I can just feel my blood pressure. I'm just like, it's happening.
I'm really grateful to everyone that listens and shares and like understands what the point is. And for me, the point is like all these things happen in people's lives and we should be relating to each other on just that, as opposed to like continuing to divide. Do you think that you're going to be a Wanda?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I told you it's called like for the foster parents in LA County, it's called a resource parent. So I did that actually in the past. I've already done like respite for a foster care kid. It was just I had a 1-bedroom apartment. It wasn't going to work out. So it's going to happen. I will foster. I will have other kids. I know that.
How do you feel about connecting with like Wanda's family more and then also like your siblings? Like, have you sent it to any of them?
I just feel like there's a lot of like healing that has to do that probably like maybe the podcast would just like throw some salt on type thing. It's probably like deeper.
I know how hard it is and how uncomfortable it is to address like my own trauma and deal with it. And it might just be that it's a little too close to home for your bio siblings. And, you know, like they're just not ready to face that yet. And that might be why. It might not really have anything to do with you because there's probably a lot of experiences they had in foster care that you don't know about. Give them a minute because it might just be that that they're not ready to talk about it. It's a little hard when you know somebody is so brave and you don't feel that brave. It's really hard when you start healing and maybe other people in your life haven't. Like it's uncomfortable for everybody and they don't really understand because you're not moving or doing the same things that you used to. And it's, you know, it shifts and usually positively, and I'm sure it will.
Hear that? It's SpringFest savings calling your name, only at Lowe's. Right now, get a free Select Ego 56-volt battery when you buy a Select Ego trimmer, blower, or mower. Plus, get your choice of any 2 bags of Miracle Grow organic soil mix for only $16. Shop these can't-miss deals in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/2. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Hawaii.
Get ready for Netflix's gripping new medical drama, Pulse. Set in a cutting-edge Miami trauma center, third-year resident Dr. Danny Sims is unexpectedly thrust into a promotion when beloved chief resident Dr. Xander Phillips gets suspended. Then, with the emotional and physical stakes at their highest, a storm will push the hospital and its residents to their limits. Witness how life can change in a heartbeat when you're operating under pressure. Watch Pulse April 3rd, only on Netflix.
As someone with lived experience now working in advocacy, what do you think most people get wrong about foster care that you hope your story helps them understand?
The immediate first thing that comes to my mind is actually when I went through this training to become a resource parent or a resource family for basically a foster care parent. I remember when they were speaking about foster youth, it was very negative connotation. And despite me sharing this specific story of my experience in foster care and also just relating to the bigger picture about how ultimately the goal of foster care is to reunify families, not to like keep these kids here, not to create broken homes, not to just adopt out, right? Like you want to reunify the kids with their parents, because statistics and data shows that that is still what's best for children. And I can even say, like, while my adoption gave me so much, there is a lot of things that I've lost because I don't have that connection with biological family. But I want to say that, like, a misconception is that, like, all foster youth or the majority or whatever have tons of issues and need, like, deep therapy, and they're going to have issues the rest of their life. I think what you can show through my experience is that that's not the case, that we are advocates. We go on to become doctors. Like we are, there were seeds that get planted and we sprout up later, right? And so I think that I want to be mindful that we are still kids. And despite the circumstances, like we still deserve to be treated as such. Like with the happiness, it doesn't have to be deep and dark times all the time. Like just allow us to be kids, Like even how you introduce, like if you are a foster parent, don't remind people that this is my fostered kid, but this is your child that you're taking in, right? Like don't create those separations. But the biggest thing for me that always pops up when this question comes is just that a misconception is that we're all troubled youth for the rest of our life. And I don't think that that's the case. I think that there are troubling aspects. There are things just like even in or outside of foster care that people get help for. And we're just like that. We're normal kids and we deserve love, So that would be my biggest thing. What I think that we were able to kind of highlight that in this episode. And we talked about that as well. So
any kid that doesn't have somebody that is, looking out for them is vulnerable. It doesn't change who that child is. Every kid deserves to wake up and be like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. I can go be an astronaut. Like, it doesn't matter where I came from or what happened. Like, I can go do whatever I want. And it really is having someone like Wanda in your life, or a person that is like, yeah, like it's not even a question. You can go do whatever in the hell you want.
Sometimes certain state policies could be restrictive to like what foster youth have access to. And so one of this is like, I remember for dental, for example, my dentist wanted me to have like this retainer to like, I had some like compacted teeth or whatever. And then, one was like, okay, I'm going to petition. They're going to deny me. So she petitioned, they denied. And the dentist and Wanda got in cahoots and they were so upset. And he went and did it himself. He like purchased everything that he needed. It gave me this retainer for my mouth. And I think about that because like, ultimately, like having that extra support and people to advocate on behalf of foster youth is important. We deserve just as much as like other kids as well. Like even with the restrictive state policy, like the state needs to also kind of look at those things and stuff. And but I'm just so appreciative of that dentist. I'll never forget him. I think years later I wrote a review for him and I was like, I'll never forget. And I remember Wanda, like, she was not afraid to talk about some of those issues with other people, and she went to bat for me all the time. And so, we're kids at the end of the day, and we deserve just as much as anybody else.
Because we talked about I'm a CASA, and I see so many kids that they were on the soccer team, or they were on the school basketball team, or they were doing what kids do, and then now they're in this world where they don't have a voice and they don't have any control, and that's like, it's obviously not the most important thing, but it's always on my list of like, what do you do? Like, what are your activities, and how can we keep you just being a kid, and, keep you with your teammates, or, your dance class, or do you play the piano? Like whatever the normal life is, even in chaos, the kids had something that they loved and that was important to them, and probably doesn't fit in a black trash bag. They're just normal kids.
Now, like applying to stuff, and I'm a former foster youth. Like I say that not because like I need some witty pity, tissue, but it's like, just FYI, this is who you have in the room, and I will speak from this experience, And so, yeah, I appreciate you. You get it. And I think, obviously, I think the pain that you've had in your past, like, I think sympathizes with the pain that I've had. And so I think that that's why we're just on different levels of like understanding.
One bad person can cause so much harm. It's like, to me, it's like this ripple effect. And I feel the same way about people that do the opposite of causing harm, the people that support each other and the people that understand and empathize and care and protect. And I think that ripple is bigger. And I think it helps so much. And you do that in such an incredible way.
We're connected forever, FYI. I still am going to make my way up to Seattle.